everyone, and welcome back. This is episode number 6 of the How to Life podcast. I'm very happy you're listening right now because today's topic is all about credit. Good credit, bad credit, credit scores, identity theft, and credit repair. I think there's definitely a lack of education and or miseducation about this topic. And because of that, it can lead to fear and denial about the importance of looking out for yourself, monitoring your credit, learning how to be financially responsible, and protecting your good name. Being responsible with your money and maintaining good credit not only benefits you financially, but it can also benefit you mentally and emotionally. How so? Well, being in debt, being quote-unquote broke all the time, running from collectors because you made poor choices, that is not fun at all, and it can definitely stress you out. And what about identity theft? Are you aware of the fallout if that happens to you? Do you know how to avoid it, or at least stop it should it happen? All of these questions are about to be answered. Today I'm interviewing Alesa Flower, who's developed her own system of credit repair called Credit Medic 911. She has become an expert in this field through her journey to improve her own financial picture, as well as her association with the United Credit Education Services. She's a teacher, she's a businesswoman, and a provider of good vibes. Enjoy this interview. Welcome, Alesa.
Hi.
Hi there. Thank you so much for being here today and talking about this topic, which I think is scary for many people of all ages. And I think you're going to be able to allay many fears. So if you will, guide us through a very beginner's course, think beginner here, of credit and its many forms. So let's start with this question, the very basic one. What is credit?
So a credit score represents your credit worthiness, your risk factor to lenders for you to borrow money. You can establish credit a few different ways. For beginners, the most simplest, easiest way to establish credit is first through a secured credit card, which simply means that you go to a financial institution like a bank or a credit union. You give them money to establish you a credit line.
So it's your own money.
Correct.
How is it different than just a checking account?
A checking account is not attached to a credit score at all.
Now, is that what all young people or new people have to do? Because some of my kids will just get credit card offers in the mail.
That's one way of establishing credit. Another way to establish credit, which is very easy, is for you to become an authorized user on someone's account, such as a parent. So I helped my college son establish credit by putting him on one of my credit cards. And of course, you want to make sure that that person has great credit and good payment history so that they value their credit.
Does your good credit habits help him out, or does he establish his own, or you're signing on his credit? You're vouching for him?
No, I'm not vouching for him. I'm allowing him to use my good credit history to start his. So my payments will almost be copied over to his credit report. And then when he goes to establish his own credit, they will see that, oh, he has had this credit card for this long and he's made these type of payments. So that's how you establish credit.
And if you don't have someone to vouch for you, if you don't have a parent to help you out and you're on your own, the secured credit card is the best way to go?
Exactly.
Any other ways?
Sure. If you are a young adult and you are paying rent to a landlord, to a property manager, or possibly to a family member, you can use your rental history to establish credit too.
How do you do that? Is that automatic?
It's not automatic. There are a few institutions that can do that for you, but there is a small fee. Okay. For example, Credit My Rent will charge you a minimum amount. You give them information such as your name, the address you're renting from, how long you've rented there, how much you pay rent, and whom you pay it to. They, in turn, will call and verify that information. Then that's placed on your credit report, and you pay a minimal amount monthly for that to continue to be reported.
Well, that sounds actually like it would be very valuable. Is the benefit outweigh the monthly fee?
Absolutely.
So these monitoring agencies, they calculate your score based on your good payment history.
Correct.
Okay, what is a good score? What is the range?
So the range of credit scores are anywhere from 300 to 850. And of course, the higher the credit score, the better credit that particular person has. 3 to 600 is very bad. So if you are someone that's within that range, you're paying higher interest rates. You're getting declined for many, many things.
Really a disadvantage.
Absolutely.
It actually costs you.
Yes,
Okay.
a lot.
What kind of things will decrease your score?
Paying bills late, not paying them at all, not using your credit line responsibly.
What does that mean, using your credit line responsibly?
So let's just say, for example, a bank gives you a credit card that you have $1,000 limit on it. And let's say you use 900 of that $1,000 and you always have a balance of $900.
You don't pay it off right away.
Correct. That is harming your credit score.
A lot of people get in trouble by buying things they can't afford right away and then not being able to pay them off.
Correct. And so really the ideal of how you should use a credit card is you should use it as if you had cash. There's incentives for using credit card points and being able to get cash back and get discounts on things, but you just have to use it responsibly. No frivolous shopping. When the bill comes,
pay it right away.
Pay it right away. If you can pay the entire balance, that's great as well. The sweet spot where you want to be at to use the credit cards to your advantage to build your credit score up is you never want to carry more than 30% of that credit line on a month-to-month basis. On that $1,000, you don't want your balance to be over $300. That's continuing month to month to month to month.
So not only do you get penalized by paying charges for not paying the balance, it also lowers your credit score.
Correct. And you pay interest rates on it every month.
It ends up costing you money. If you don't pay your bills, it costs you in so many ways. Yes. All right. So now let's talk about getting in trouble. We were talking about late pays, and what about inquiries? When somebody checks your credit, does that ding your credit score?
There's two types of inquiries. There's a hard inquiry where a creditor, so when a creditor actually puts your social security number into their system and pulls out a rating number for you, that's your credit score, that is an inquiry. You don't want too many of those in one given year.
In a year, what's the number?
So you don't want more than 3 to 4 inquiries a year.
I see. So that would be establishing utilities, getting a loan from a bank or a home or a car?
Correct.
Okay.
So 1 car, 1 mortgage, a utility, and a credit card. Even if you do just those 4 inquiries, which are normal inquiries, if you're out looking for a car, a home, and you have to establish these things, your credit score is going to take a small hit on it because of the hard inquiries. So I mentioned that there's 2 types of inquiries. So that's a hard inquiry. A soft inquiry might be if you already have an existing credit card and maybe, as you mentioned, a credit card company sends you an offer in the mail. That's a soft inquiry that has no impact on your credit score at all.
Because they already know about you.
Correct. And because they're just softly inquiring. So let's say you received a solicitation in the mail, soft inquiry, you filled the information out, you sent it in. It then becomes a hard inquiry.
Oh, so it's not really a soft inquiry. It's a hard one.
Once you sign that piece of paper that you want that credit card, it becomes a hard inquiry.
What about if you have none of these things? Does that harm you eventually? Like, let's say you don't care about a credit card or getting a mortgage. Will you be considered a risk for not having established credit?
You're a risk just because they don't know you.
I see. So you do have to get on the radar then.
Yes.
And in the best way you can.
Absolutely.
All right. Switching topics a little bit. The reason I wanted to do this interview was because I got a question from a young lady who received a credit card in the mail that she never signed up for. So she was initially going to ignore it. She's like, oh, well, this is a mistake. But then the next day, another credit card showed up in the mail with her name to her address that she never signed up for. So that is identity theft. Is that correct?
Correct. If she never signed up for it, she never did anything, someone has gotten hold of her information.
How does that happen?
It can happen several different ways. It could happen through shopping online. It could happen through, the theft of a wallet or a handbag. It could happen through email, phishing type of scenarios. A lot of times we get links on Facebook to shop and we think it's an original company and we click that link and that takes us to another link. And that other link is where they're capturing all your information.
It sounds like that happens a lot these days. Is there an increase in identity theft these days with online shopping and all of these cyber sites?
Absolutely. Equifax had a huge data breach. And Equifax, speaking of Equifax, that is a credit bureau along with TransUnion and Experian. They are independent businesses for profit. Their job is to house all of our financial information when it comes to our credit. So when those companies get breached, guess what? These are the companies that are supposed to be protecting and holding all our information. And so it's just inevitable that somebody has our stuff underground or in the black market, and eventually we're going to be a victim of identity theft.
So what are signs that their identity has been stolen?
Here's why it's very important for you to always know what's happening with your credit report. So if you pay attention to your credit report and you are constantly monitoring your credit report and monitoring your credit, then it's quite possibly you could see something happening before it's just blown out of proportion. So the young lady that you mentioned, she got one card, she was going to ignore it. She got a second card, she spoke to you, you said, no, do something. And now her eyes are open to something's happening here.
So let's talk about monitoring your credit report. Where does one get their credit report and how do they monitor it?
There's several third-party vendors that have credit monitoring service. However, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, those are the three credit bureaus, allow everyone to have a free credit report once a year. That's number one. So you can go directly to Experian.com, Equifax.com, or TransUnion.com, or annualcreditreports.com and pull your free credit report.
And that is free one time a year.
Correct. Now, if you bank, like with a Bank of America, Wells Fargo, or Chase, and you use their mobile app, you can always pull your credit report and your credit score through those apps. Because that's directly to your bank.
Is that on par with getting the report directly from the three agencies?
Yes. So for me, I'm always, because this is what I do, I'm always checking my score, checking to see what's going on, checking to see who's inquiring about me. And actually, that's the benefit of connecting to a credit monitoring service, because whether your credit score goes up or goes down, you're going to get a notification.
Do you have to pay for that service if you use the agencies?
When you say the agencies, are you
I meant
speaking of
the big
Experian,
three.
Equifax?
Yes.
So yes, they would charge you,
Okay.
because remember, they are a business and they are independent. And that is one source of how they make money, by you paying for them to monitor your credit.
Or what
Yes.
about these apps like NerdWallet or Credit Karma? You can see it there?
You can see it there. My challenge with some of the third-party vendors, such as those, they give you a snapshot of what you have going on, not a solid, hard picture of what you have going on. Your bank, they're going to give you hard facts.
That's good. And does that cost anything through the banks usually? Do you know?
No, not at
that's
all.
fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
So going back to the identity theft scenario, this can hurt you because it can dramatically drop your credit score and cause you problems if you don't catch it right away. What's the first thing you should do when you realize your identity has been stolen or compromised?
The first thing you should do is to make a police report,
Okay.
because there's so many ways that your identity could be used. It could be used in the theft of something, a burglary, a robbery. It could be used for medical, people going, getting surgeries and going to the doctors and running up medical bills that you have no clue, and you've never even been in that state before. So that would be the first thing, make a police report. The second thing would be to contact your banks, to let your banks know that your identity have been stolen. What they're going to do is they're going to change your account numbers.
Okay.
They're going to issue you some new credit cards if you have them. And then I would definitely call my credit cards and let them know my credit card was stolen, so that they can cut access off to them immediately.
Okay. And what about reporting them to Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, you can. And you can do that online.
And that doesn't cost anything. You just let
No.
them. And what do they do?
They put a freeze on your account, which there is no cost to that. And that simply means that your information cannot be accessed, which means that nobody will be able to extend you any credit. And
even you, if you wanted to get credit. Okay.
Even you. So in order for you to get that credit, you have to call, take the freeze off, let the credit application go through, and then put the freeze back on. And you can freeze your account 30 days, 90 days, 6 months, a year, whatever you want to do.
So is it beneficial to always keep it in a freeze status until you are ready to get credit, like you want to use it?
It can be inconvenient for you.
If your identity is stolen, then you can put it on a freeze for a few months until you kind of clear up the mess. Is that correct?
Correct. And what you want to do is you want to protect yourself as best you can from identity theft, because it's a very long and hard process to go through to establish your good name back.
So it's a problem that can be fixed. It just is it's a big paper trail.
Yes.
How long can it remain a problem?
Everybody's situation is going to be a little different, depending on how much credit has been established. So like your young lady, if that was like her first credit card, it's going to be pretty easy for her. For maybe someone like you and I that own businesses and that have had credit for a while, and we have a lot of, a mortgage, car note, we have established credit cards and different things. It could take us some time because we have a lot of moving pieces.
So let's go into credit repair. Tell me about you and about Credit Medic 911.
Absolutely. I started about 7 years ago, and I wanted to just be better personally when it came to credit. I was fortunate enough that my mom taught me very early on, around the age of 18, the importance of credit. And I established my credit from becoming an authorized user on her account because she had great credit. And so through my adult life, I made some good decisions and I made some bad decisions. And so my credit score fluctuated. And then I got to a point where I had to give back a recreational vehicle because I was wasting money and it damaged my credit report. And I could not afford for that to happen because I also invest in real estate. So with a low credit score, I could not buy real estate and I could not refinance any of my real estate that I had. So I had to do something. And so I worked on my own credit. I had to learn the game, how to play the credit game.
Well, teach us.
And through my own credit score, I saw what I did, how I used the credit cards, how I could increase my credit limits, how I could get different type of loans. And I did. And as I was thinking to myself, wow, I'm in this situation. How many other women are in this same situation and have no idea how to get out of it? And so from that point on, it was my passion to help as many women as I can. I do work with men. However, it was my passion to teach women as much as I could and help them get better credit. Credit Medic 911 is the name of my company.
It's a great name.
And a lot of times, it's not until an emergency that we decide to do something with our credit.
That's right.
And
well,
so,
when should you repair it? How bad is bad? When should you start?
if you have less than a 700 credit score, you should be repairing your credit. Because as we discussed earlier, anything less than a 700, you're just paying more money for credit. So it's costing you more money. And a lot of times people don't understand, what can I do to bring more money into my house? If you had a higher credit score, you would not be paying a higher interest rate on a car. You wouldn't be paying a 15, 25% on a car note, which sounds high and it sounds ridiculous, but a good part of our nation are paying those type of interest rates on cars because they need a car to go to work. So they just figure, okay, I got a car, I'm okay. No, that's not okay. And so our nation just needs education on how to build credit, how to maintain credit. What does that look like?
What's your system? What's the Credit Medic system?
I really like to understand people's behaviors, their behaviors around money. And so how did we get to this situation? One. Two, what is your goal and why at this point do you want to get better credit? And so that I know how I can help them the best and put together a plan for them. But our basic package is, if you have, again, anything less than a 700 credit score, you have negative items such as collections, late payments, repossessions, and charge-offs. All those things are negative items on your credit report that's bringing down your credit. And you don't have to live with those negative items on your credit report. However, if you don't do anything about them, dispute them in some sort of way, then they're going to sit there.
Do you dispute them or set up a letter or a form for your client to dispute them?
Yes. Through the system, we pull the client's credit report. We extract all the negative items from the credit report. And then those negative items are put in a letter form, one to each of the credit bureaus.
The big three that you mentioned.
Yes. Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And then you have to allow them 30 to 45 days to do their investigation. They'll contact the creditor and then the creditor needs to respond. And so just depending on how old these line items are these bad credit points will depend on how they respond. And so it's a repetitive system. We have to constantly dispute those items to get them removed. Some of them get removed immediately. Sometimes it takes a couple of dispute cycles to get the others removed. Sometimes a client may have to do some negotiations with the creditor to have the items removed and to pay off some of the debt.
Because the creditor has to tell the agency, okay, this person's clear. You have to make good with your creditor somehow.
Yes.
These are things that you've done. That's like you said, repo or late pays or collections. If you don't catch an identity theft, as what brought this topic up, that will just show as you are delinquent, and it's going to take longer to get that removed once you figure it out.
Yes.
Okay. So you got to be diligent.
Absolutely.
Are you able to remove, well, you'd say collections. Are you able to remove evictions? Does evictions count against you?
Evictions does count against you. And yes, they can be removed. Again, how easy or how difficult is going to depend on the age of the eviction. And did they go through the proper process to have that on your credit report anyway? A lot of times we can get things removed because the creditor or the lender simply did not take the right steps to put that on there anyway.
That sounds like a legal move.
Yes. Absolutely.
So I imagine you could probably do all this stuff yourself, but it sounds overwhelming. So a system like yours can be cost effective and just more deliberate and be better for you overall.
Can you do it yourself? Absolutely. The challenge with doing it yourself is the first time when you send your disputes out, if the creditor comes back and say, no, we find this valid, 9 times out of 10, you're going to give up and say, oh, they're not going to take it off. Mm-hmm. Me being the professional in the company, we know better than that.
You can mediate on behalf of the client.
Yeah. Okay. So we know not to give up. We know it may take 1 or 2 other dispute cycles.
Because you've done this before.
Yes.
So also as part of your service, and I know you're very big on education, you help also instruct your clients and teach them how to succeed in the future, how to be financially responsible and competent so that this doesn't happen again.
Absolutely. And it's really about education. It's really about knowledge. And again, learning how to, and I don't want anyone to take this out of context, learning how to play the game.
Understood.
Yes.
So, Alesa, why don't you, I'm going to post all of the links to you and your company in the show notes, but why don't you go ahead and right now, tell everybody your name, your company, how they can find you.
Absolutely. Again, my name is Alesa Flowers, Credit Medic 911. My direct number is 702-527-4101. And you can reach me by email at creditmd911@gmail.com.
Can anybody use you or only in Nevada?
Nationwide.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
All right, Alesa, thank you so very much. I think this was a very informative and much relief was gained from all the information you shared with us.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Jaggett.
All right, be well. Woo, there was a whole lot of good information in there. It's surprisingly easy to get into credit trouble, and identity theft is more and more prevalent these days. It's so important to know what to look for and how to stop it as soon as possible. I have a few mominars on my YouTube channel, How to Life, that deal with how to spot a phishing attempt, scams in general, and what to do when your wallet and your credit and bank cards and your ID have all been stolen. Check it out. And consider subscribing to the How to Life mominars for lots of short tutorials on how to do basic life skills. And please subscribe to this podcast. I would appreciate it if you also wouldn't mind leaving a nice review on Apple and 5 stars. That goes a long way in helping me and this podcast get more attention and reach more people. You can find the contact information for Alesa Flowers, Credit Medic 911, as well as the links to everything that was mentioned in this interview in the show notes, which will be on my website, howtolife.com/006. If you have any questions about this show, or you'd like me to make a mominar about something you want to know, or you have a suggestion for the podcast, please send me an email to drlj@howtolife.com. Thank you for listening today. I hope you got some valuable information, or you were reassured that you're on the right track. Are you pretty financially responsible? Do you like money? Do you like freedom? Do you like planning for the future? Please join me next week for an inspirational interview with Randy Levenbaum, who set a goal at age 20 to retire early, and through her own financial responsibility and discipline, ended up doing just that at age 43. It's a great story. Take care, everyone. Have a great week. Be kind to yourself. Be easy about everything. You got this.